Hello and welcome everyone to the Wisdom Safe podcast. I'm your host and Dungeon Master Sam, and today we're going to be looking at the newly announced 2024 Player's Handbook. Let's get started. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but I love D&D, and nothing gets me more excited about a game, especially D&D, than new content. I don't know if any of you guys are out there are gamers, but when a game is just out there that just doesn't have that update, doesn't have that support, it's really hard to play and really hard to get into it with the community. So I'm so happy that Wizards of the Coast is finally updating this much needed game. So let's take a look at it, shall we? Okay. So this post was posted back in June 18th, 2024. It was written by a guy named Michael Glavis. I don't know how to say the name. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, Michael. I'm sure you're great. But yeah, let's go ahead and read through this and see what's new in the 2024 Player's Handbook. On September 17th, the 2024 Player's Handbook arrives at game tables. Ooh, yes. Packed with 384 pages of new and improved player options, equipment, spells, and more. The revised 5th edition core rulebook is the largest player's handbook in Dungeons & Dragons history. Okay, let's just stop there. 384 pages. That is not a book, it's a tome, okay? And I think what's interesting here, I don't know if you guys remember, this was probably about a year, maybe 2 years ago when they very first announced that they were redoing the rules. It was called 1D&D. And it looks like they might have dropped that naming scheme of 1D&D, and they're going just back to revised 5th edition. We'll see if that changes. I know that the initial thought process behind the 1D&D thing was there's one edition for Dungeons and Dragons, and they just were going to keep that 1D&D theme, and when they would update it, it was still the same Dungeons and Dragons, I suppose, but it was weird. They didn't want it to call it 6th edition. They wanted it to be kind of this living document, I suppose. I think that's probably the best way to put that. But that'd be interesting to see. So they're calling it the revised 5th edition rulebook. So for everyone out there, this is not D&D 6th edition. This is not 5.5. This is not 1D&D from what it sounds like. It's just a revised 5th edition core rulebook. And along with this rulebook, actually, I think we're getting the Monster Manual and the Dungeon Master's Guide later this year. So stay tuned for that. Okay, let's keep going. Below, we give a high-level overview between the covers of this rulebook. For deep dives and more, keep an eye out here on D&D Beyond, all that kind of fun stuff. Okay, and we will get to all that later. So let's just take a quick broad view of what to expect in this rulebook. So we have exciting updates to classes that you love, reworked background, species, and feats. Weapon mastery adds to your arsenal of combat tricks. 100+ pages of spells. That's my personal favorite. Expanded guide to playing the game. Artwork abound and more. And then there's a pre-order section. Okay. And this is also interesting. Initially, we'll say when they first posted this, they opened pre-orders. You could pre-order on D&D Beyond, and I think Wizards might have had it on their website too. But D&D Beyond is where they're mostly pushing it. And it was for, what was it, $60, something like that? $60, $70. You would get the digital copy and the physical copy. And actually, they were selling it as a bundle. So I think it was probably closer to $160. I don't remember. You'll have to fact check me on that. But they were basically bundling the new core rulebooks, hardcover, and the digital copies together. But they didn't give any incentives to pre-order. And I think actually I think this was as of a couple days ago of recording this, they added some actual pre-order bonuses. So that's actually super helpful. It says right here, when you pre-order the digital and physical copy of the rulebook bundle, so that's all 3 books, you'll not only save the $60 on your purchase, but you receive free shipping, okay, and unlock the following exclusive digital bonuses. We'll get Dragons of D&D digital art book, pretty cool, and the D&D Beyond gold dice set. Okay, cool if you're using D&D Beyond for your rolling. And the 50th anniversary Gold Dragon Mini, releasing with the closed beta of the upcoming 3D VTT. Okay, so you get some cool stuff. I think I would have preferred dice, physical dice, maybe a pre-order exclusive DM screen. I think they could have done a couple other things a bit better, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. No hate here. Okay, let's move on. So the next section, exciting updates to classes that you and I love. So the 12 base classes return in the 2024 Player's Handbook, each with 4 subclasses and new or refined features to expand, improve, or streamline gameplay. Among the 48 subclasses are 3 entirely new options. So we have Path of the World Tree Barbarian, and the College of Dance Bard, and the Circle of the Sea Druid. So 3. And I'll tell you guys, I've already watched the videos that they've put on these guys, and I've read the articles. It's going to be amazing, and we'll get there. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, stay tuned, click subscribe, do all the liking things, and we'll get back to that in a future episode. Okay. But let's keep reading. But you'll find certain other subclasses have seen extensive updates. For example, the Warrior of the Elements Monk, formerly the Way of the Four Elements, is practically a new subclass, whereas the Wild Magic Sorcery Sorcerer comes to you with a more reliable way to delight in the chaos, and with the updated Wild Magic search table. That will be fun. As of right now, they have yet to release those videos, so we'll be looking forward to that. In the coming days and weeks, we'll be rolling out guides to outline the key changes to each class and showcase the subclasses that have seen the most extensive updates. Okay, guys, so I'm going to link this article and the YouTube video that Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford do when they talk about in the show notes below or the comment section, wherever you are getting this. Look down in the notes. You'll find links to both of these. If you have time, I highly, highly, highly recommend you read this over again, digest it, live with it a little bit, and then watch their video. Their video is super informative, and they just have a lot of fun. And I'm really enjoying the content they're putting out. Okay, so let's keep going. Reworked backgrounds, species, and feats. Okay, so this is really interesting. First off, again, the art in this book, I cannot stress more to you guys, is amazing. This art is some of the best art I think we've seen in D&D ever. So again, when you get a second, go look at this artwork. If you're looking here on YouTube, you're seeing it on the screen. It's immaculate. It's great. Okay, so let's move on. The 2024 Player's Handbook includes 16 backgrounds, from the farmer to the wayfarer, 10 species, and 75 feats. These new species offered are the Aasimar, Goliath, and Orc. But you'll also see changes to classics such as humans. Okay, so one big change that they're moving away from is calling races. They're now calling them species. So I'm going to apologize in advance if I make that mistake and call them races. They are species. So that's just how we're using that, how we're going forward with that wording. Okay, also 75 feats. That's a lot of feats. I think in the 2014 Player's Handbook, we had maybe 45, something like that. You will see that they've done a lot of these kind of tweaking and taking things from other books or rearranging the content. So we look at the 75 feats. It's not all 75 brand new feats. They've all been revisited, so they're going to feel different. But the 75 is not indicative of the amount of new things. They're rearranging a lot. But still, 75 is a lot. And once we get to that new video coming, it's going to be amazing. Okay. So 2 notable changes in the revised core rulebook. Ability score adjustments are now tied to the background you select rather than the species you chose. And each background comes with an origin feat. This is a new type of feat that typically is only provided at character creation. I'm going to keep reading. I have so much to say, but I want to finish this section. Feats have seen big changes. For example, epic boon feats are completely new and exclusively available to high-level characters. These incredibly powerful and unique feats reflect your characters reaching the pinnacle of their power, whether you choose to gain proficiency in all skills, master the art of short-range teleportation, or something else. Epic boon feats are another way to truly customize your play experience. Okay, awesome. Let's just pause there. I think it's brilliant. Just brilliant the way they're rearranging and restructuring these things. The fact that our ability score adjustments come from our background instead of our race, species, I think it's great. There's been so many times where you're like, oh, okay, I want to play a wizard. Okay, well, you're playing a wizard. You're going to pick a gnome. You're going to pick someone that has a bonus to their intelligence. Now, you're not locked into that. I mean, you could do that before, but for those of us who like to optimize, min-maxers, don't hate me, we would pick the gnome or variant human, right? Because we kind of have these things that we're like, oh, we don't want to give up. This is amazing. And I love that it comes from your background too, because it speaks to your character's ability, your character's growing up. What did they do before they became an adventurer? What was their job? Were they a hired hand? Were they a scholar? Well, if you're a scholar, then you might get a plus to your arcana or whatever. I think that's brilliant. It really speaks to what your character's been through before the start of the campaign, because so often I think what happens in D&D is we build a character and we think, okay, his adventure starts now. Her adventure starts now, which is partly true, but it's awesome that we can go back to before their adventuring days and look back at who they were. And from a storytelling perspective and from a DM perspective, I love that because I can see that's where that character started, and I can now walk them step by step into where they're going to be at the end of the campaign. I think it's brilliant. Also, origin feats. Awesome. So they rearrange feats in, I think, 3 different sections. You have origin feats, normal general feats, and your epic boons. The origin feats, it sounds like, and it'll be interesting to see how many they actually have, but every character will get an origin feat. These are feats like alert. These are feats like lucky. These are feats like basically any feat you would want to take as a level 1 variant human, you can take. What is interesting, though, and it sounds like these origin feats are locked to character creation. So unfortunately, they're getting nerfed in a way where, let's say you wanted to take lucky and alert, you probably can't do that in this version. But that's okay. You still get a free feat at level 1. That's still really good. Okay, we got to keep going here. Hey there, adventurers. Need some new dice to roll those critical hits or avoid those devastating fails? Look no further than our friends at Easy Roller Dice. They've got a fantastic selection of high-quality dice sets, perfect for any tabletop game. Whether you're a seasoned dungeon master or just starting out with your first campaign, Easy Roller Dice has everything you need to bring your game to the next level. From stunning metal dice to beautifully crafted resin sets, there's truly something for everyone. And here's the best part. We've teamed up with Easy Roller Dice to give you an exclusive discount. Just use the code WisdomSavePodcast at checkout and you'll get 20% off your entire order. It is a one-time use code, so make sure you grab those dice you've been eyeing. Plus, by using our code, you're not only saving money, but you're also supporting us at the podcast. We get a kickback from every purchase, which helps us continue bringing you awesome content and epic adventures. So don't miss out. Head over to Easy Roller Dice, pick out your favorite dice, and use code WisdomSavePodcast at checkout for 20% off. Trust me, your dice bag will thank you. Weapon Mastery adds to your arsenal combat of tricks. Okay, this is something else. This is so cool. I love Weapon Mastery. I cannot wait to talk more about this. Again, this is just a high level overview of everything that's going to be in the book. We will deep dive into each one of these topics in a later episode, believe me. But Weapon Mastery is so cool. It's so cool. I love it the best. I love it the most. Let's keep reading. You'll find each weapon in the 2024 Player's Handbook now contains a mastery property. Certain martial classes gain the Weapon Mastery feature, which expands their repertoire of combat tricks and ways to bring the pain to their enemies. It also rewards tactically minded players who may swap between weapons to better suit their combat needs. If you're surrounded by droves of minions, for example, you might use your trusty great axe to cull the weak using the Cleave Mastery property. If you want to set up sneak attack for your friendly rogue, you might sweep your enemy's legs out from under them with your Maul's Topple Mastery property. You can learn more about these properties. Okay, they kind of go over this. The guide will go into later. This adds a certain level of customability that martials did not have. You know the classic, like, oh, martials are underpowered, spellcasters are more powerful, and that's still technically true. I don't think this truly, unfortunately, fixes the power gap between spellcasters and martials. I'm sorry. If you're playing a high-level wizard, you have access to the wish spell. You can reshape reality. I think you win. I'm sorry. Sorry, level 20 fighters and barbarians. You guys are still awesome, but we can just make you disappear. But this does give a different next level of play to marshals. And what I picture this initially being like is some version of spells. For those of you guys who have played Baldur's Gate 3, a lot of these were actually in that game, except they were like once per long rest, once per short rest, that kind of thing. Weapon masteries, you can activate every time you swing your weapon. And in the weapon mastery, it will tell you whether it applies on a hit, whether it applies whether you hit or not, it applies what it will tell you. And I think that's so cool because it's not going to limit your martial character by what they can do in combat. So there are things like slow with your longbow. Imagine, I remember my very first character. I was a ranger, and I wanted to pull back my bow, really sit and pin this guy's foot to the ground, and basically kind of pin him there. I didn't know how D&D worked. I just thought that'd be really cool. You can kind of do that now with weapon mastery. I draw my longbow back, I hit, I can apply the slow property, and now his speed is reduced 10 feet. You can imagine it's a lot. It's really, really hard to run at your enemy when you have an arrow in your foot. I think that's really cool. And there's other things, like they said, great axe to cleave. A lot of us have already had this kind of cleave mechanism in our games. Now, with the great axe, as a barbarian, if you swing, even if you don't hit, you'll still do damage. That's really cool. Actually, I don't know if it was cleave. That might have been a different one. I don't remember. We'll get to that. Anyway, guys, this is super cool. And so what I love about this is that it gives marshals this level of almost preparedness at the beginning of each day. In the same way a wizard has to kind of look through a spell book and go, okay, what's going to happen today? What problems we're going to have to overcome? I should stock Featherfall. I should probably stock Slow. I should probably stock a large Reduce. I should definitely take Fireball. Whatever it is, the wizard has to go through this. And now marshals, especially the fighter, I can't wait to get the fighter. It's super cool. Especially the fighter, he's going to look at his weapons and go, what weapon properties should I have? What should I have in my arsenal? And what's also cool about these abilities stack. They stack on top of Battlemaster properties, on the new Barbarian properties. And again, I just want to talk about this all night long, but I don't think we can. We have to move on. This is really cool, guys, and I cannot wait to talk more about this when we get to it. But this is probably the thing I am most excited for. Full stop. Okay, spells. 100 plus pages of spells. Not 100 new spells, 100 pages of spells. So out of that almost 400 page book, most of it's spells. The 2024 Player's Handbook contains nearly 400 spells. Wow, 400 spells. That's a lot. Among these, you'll find many old spells that have been revised or reimagined from the 2014 Player's Handbook, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. There are a number of brand new spells, including my favorite. This is Michael talking, Tasha's Bubbling Cauldron. Okay, so they don't give a whole lot to spells, and actually, their spell video comes out tomorrow. Tomorrow as of recording this, so I'm still in I think it's July 1st, it's tomorrow. When you're watching this, it is August 2nd. Welcome. Hey, hi, how you doing? August 2nd, future. Anyway, I am really excited about this. I've followed a little bit of the Unearthed Arcana, and they've done some really good changes to spells, even spells like trash spells like True Strike or Blade Ward. Like spells no one took, and everyone was like, "Wow, you took Blade Ward. Wow, you want to cast True Strike? Okay." They've made those spells better. Now, I still probably wouldn't take them. But they suck less. I'll tell you, they suck less. But I'm really excited for these levels, all these spells. As a wizard player, I love me some good spells. Let's keep moving. All right. Expanded guide to playing the game. The 2024 Player's Handbook lowers the barrier to entry for new and returning players, for returning D&D players, with an expansive play guide. In its early chapters, you'll learn key terms to the game, like what a D20 test is, or the magic action are, and find examples of play such as in combat with sidebars that break down the game mechanics as you see them in action. You'll also receive step-by-step instructions on creating your first character. These include recommended ability scores based on your class background based on your primary scores, rollable tables to randomize your character's attributes. New players may appreciate the annotated character sheet that explains various aspects, oh my gosh, of your character. This is amazing. Guys, it's like what 2024. I just started playing D&D. I think 3 years ago. I remember I bought the player's handbook and I was reading through it and I was like, how do you play this game? I don't understand how this works. My friend's like, hey, do you want to play D&D? I'm like, sure. How do you play? He's like, it's complicated. Buy the book. I bought the book. I read it. Still didn't know how to play the game. I think I spent like 2 months trying to figure out how to do it and like looking up online how to play this game. I had no idea. So I am so thankful that they're making this easy. They're actually taking all that information, front loading it at the beginning of the book, because that makes sense. At the beginning of the book, they tell you how to play the game. Right? Okay. But I am really excited about that because it's going to really, like they said, lower the barrier to entry on new players. The new player is going to be able to go down to the game store and buy their book, open it, and the first couple pages are going to be about how to run the game. Also, that character sheet, if you haven't seen it for the very first time, it's daunting. I've taught now a lot of people how to play D&D, and I don't explain the character sheet. we just go as we go, and I usually design a easy one shot, and we kind of run through that. But I'm really happy that they're gonna have almost like a glossary of some kind for the rules and explaining what the character sheet is for. And I think we're getting an updated character sheet, so that'll be really cool. All right, let's keep going. Okay, artwork abound, guys. Again, this artwork in this book is amazing, and personally, I will be getting the alt covers. I'll be going down to my local game store and purchasing it the day it comes out because the main covers are beautiful as well. Artwork abounds in the 2024 Player's Handbook is brimming with new artwork. Each class and subclass gets its own illustration depicting the power and fantasy of that particular player option. For example, if you're like me, who obsesses over the minutia of character backstory, you'll be delighted that each background and species have art that help you envision what life was like before your character picked up a sword, wand, or lute. Okay, this is awesome. I'm excited. This is pretty much the end of the article. It just says there's much more coming, and guys, this is huge. This is just the Player's Handbook. We still have a Monster Manual coming out, and we still have a Dungeon Master's Guide coming out. That's a lot. And I'm just really excited to see all the new changes that are coming here. And I think out of everything that they've released, I mean, they're just doing awesome quality of life changes. Again, if you just watch the video that D&D Beyond D&D put out. It's also on D&D Beyond's YouTube channel. They're making small changes like letting you drink a health potion as a bonus action. Yeah, that's something we've been asking for forever. That's something that we do at our table. Like, it's fine. But I just love that they're recognizing how we play the game and saying, no, this is now the official rules. Now, I will say the caveat here. There will be a lot of things that we cover that are like, well, we've been doing that. Is that new? And technically, yes, it's new. It's new for this Player's Handbook. It wasn't in the old Player's Handbook. They're taking a lot of things we've homebrewed as a community and now saying, okay, now that's the rules. Or, for example, they're taking a lot of things from Tasha's or Xanathar's and pulling it in. A lot of the subclasses and races, the new subclasses and races, aside from those three we talked about in the beginning, are ported directly from Xanathar's and Tasha's, which is fine. Because, again, as a new player, there are some really cool classes, like the Psy Warrior, that's not in the 2014 Player's Handbook, but is in the new one. And so I think that's going to give the player new players a lot of awesome options to be able to look at some of these cooler, more kind of unique subclasses like the Psy Warrior, and instead of just looking at the basic three that you get. So I am overall very, very excited for this. There's very few critiques that I think I have with this book, aside from a lot of it kind of just being a rearranging of a lot of different things. I will still be picking up my copy. So yeah. Guys, this has been fun. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, just drop us a like. give us a follow. Hit that little plus button, bell icon, whatever you want to do. Yeah, it's been great, guys. Leave a review. Share this podcast with your fellow adventurers. We release 2 new shows a week. Fridays on today is our Critical Conversations. That's what you're listening to right now. Critical Conversations. That's every Friday, which will run from August 2nd today until I think it's the last Friday of December of this year. And then on Tuesdays, we have Monster of the Week. And this is a segment I'm very excited for. We're basically going to take a deep dive into the Monster Manual. We'll start with the current Monster Manual, 2014 version. And we're going to go monster by monster, talking about each one in each episode. We're going to talk about its unique lore, its stat block, its kind of history, and give some advice to DMs on how to run these characters. These are some monsters I've never ran before, which would be a lot of fun. So advice for DMs on how to run these monsters, and players even forgot about you too. We're going to be talking about some cool tips and tricks for you players to be on the watch out for if you're ever fighting a beholder. What does that look like? If you're fighting a basilisk, don't get stuck in front of it. Rookie's mistake. I definitely made that mistake one time. So we're going to talk about advice for DMs and players, and we're also going to be throwing in some new homebrew stuff will go along with this, and I'm super excited about that. But you will find out more about that later. So again, thanks for joining us today on the Wisdom Say podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to share, subscribe, all that kind of things, and get your dice. Keep them handy. Roll them. Show them some love. All right, guys. Next time. See ya.